Now, speaking of franchises that don't have a handle on their organization, it's time for my rip and rant. And
nice setup.
Thank you. So, of course, when the Jets get Aaron Rodgers last year, there was that, it was like, oh, we're happy. We were missing a quarterback. We finally get a quarterback. And then, of course, he goes down 4 plays into the season, 11 minutes in real time. Rodgers has been a bit of a controversial figure over the last few years.
Oh, you think?
Just a little bit. And I knew that first year he wasn't really going to do too much because there's that honeymoon period. He's out of Green Bay. He's got a new team. He's got his little smoking blunt, handshake with Sauce Gardner. Hopefully they're enjoying those after practice, unwinding, talking, whatever. Then he goes down. We lose that first season. Now mini camp's here, and Mr. Rodgers is nowhere to be found. And apparently he's in Europe right now, or whatever the case. And I get it. It is a bad look to not have your quarterback in mini camp. It's just bad optics. But I'm not going to get too concerned and worry about this unless he starts pulling this nonsense with actual training camp. Because Jared and I are both sports media veterans. We both cut our teeth in newsrooms cutting up audio. You've cut up numerous football player interviews. How many of the vets really care about minicamp? Like, if you're in a situation like Zach Wilson, where you're going into Denver, new coach, new system, new all that, then yeah, minicamp's going to benefit you.
Yeah, they don't want to be there.
The vets of 20 plus years don't want to be there, and I don't necessarily blame them for that. Then yeah, maybe he should swallow his pride, get over it, and go just for the betterment of the team. But just looking at it on paper, they're not running a new offense this year. They don't have a new offensive coordinator because the offense runs through Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, it would be great to see him there and doing those things. I'm more concerned about Hassan Reddick not being there because he's on a new team. And I understand it's easier for a defensive end or a rush end to plug into a defense. But until Rodgers starts doing this nonsense with actual training camp, I'm not getting too concerned about it.
All right. So here's where I'll agree with you. Nothing about Aaron Rodgers skipping mandatory minicamps this week is going to affect the Jets in the 2024 season. It's not going to affect their win-loss record. So, yeah, we are making, I don't want to say a mountain out of a molehill, but, maybe something out of nothing there. But that said, this is the same quarterback who, at the end of the season, after an entire year-long series of events with distractions between obviously he got injured. You can't really control that, but him talking throughout his rehab like he was going to make it back when nobody ever thought he was going to make it back. Then you have like all the the vice presidential nonsense with RFK. You have him going on Joe Rogan's podcast and Pat McAfee every week. You have him talking conspiracy theories and ripping Dr. Fauci in 2024 like anyone gives a fuck about Dr. Fauci in 2024. This is the same quarterback who said at the end of last season, well, we can't have any more distractions. Like, this is literally the I think you should leave meme. Oh, the hot dog guy. We're all trying to find the guy who did this. Buddy, you're the one who keeps doing this. You're the one who keeps making this a distraction because you, I don't know, don't feel like going to training camp. You'd rather bounce around on a European vacation with Miles Teller and his girlfriend or whoever. Like,
it's like one partner telling another partner, we got to cut back on our spending while 9 Amazon boxes show up at the door.
Exactly.
Like it's, and I listen, I get that part of it too. I agree with it. Like that, like, okay, fine. You're talking about no distractions. And like, here you are, not even like, let's face it. If he goes to mini camp, he's going to throw some balls. He's not going to have to do the same stuff that other people there are going to do. And yeah, it's not a good situation, but if he shows up to training camp, no problems, we'll say, just moves along, no issues, no side stories. We're not even talking about him missing mini camp in August.
You can go on vacation at any point in the summer. Like you specifically did this week for whatever reason.
He's a rabble rouser. He's a lightning rod. He likes to make it about himself at this point. I was texting with my buddy Pete about this little guy. In the span of 5 years, Aaron Rodgers went from one of the most likable personalities in the league that you really enjoyed watching play the quarterback position. He was not to say must-see TV, but if he's playing, I'm going to keep the game on. And now it's more about him making it about himself. Now, if the Jets walk off, Super Bowl this year with a Vince Lombardi in tow. Okay, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like the Jets missed their window to have a season of Rodgers, as bullshit-free Rodgers as we could, and now it's going to be that's just coming with the turf. Or maybe he's just getting it out of his system now, so that way, come training camp, come September, all that stuff is out of his system, at least temporarily.
How much are you going to be looking forward to it when the Jets are not winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? Deep down in your heart, they're not winning a Super Bowl because they're never winning a Super Bowl. You're a Jets fan. You know this deep in your soul. So that said, how much are you looking forward to, whether it's at the end of this year or at the end of next year, when this asshole's off your team and you don't have to deal with it? You don't have to pretend to like him anymore.
I want to answer that question once the season's over, because I'll say this as a fan of a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in over a decade: just get there and maybe get a win. Fine. Just because let's face it, this is not a long-term plan anyway. It's not like we're, once Rodgers goes, they're going to have to redo a couple of things anyway. So I would just like to taste the playoffs. I'd like to maybe get a playoff victory. Just give me a competitive season. I haven't had a competitive season in a decade. Christian Hackenberg, Mark Sanchez, all these quarterbacks that the Jets went through, Zach Wilson. Can we just have one season where like 10-7, maybe 11-6 football? We're like, hey, I don't like most Jets seasons. By the time we get to Halloween or Thanksgiving, I'm not trying as hard to revolve my Sunday or Monday around watching the game anymore, or Thursday or whatever day of the week that the NFL is going to have games, because I got them on every day of the week this year. I'll get back to you on that in the offseason of how much, because again, I don't like the off the field stuff anyway. Like, just try and keep it on the field. I recognize in this day and age that you just can't, but let's just see what actually happens on the field, because all we got was 4 plays in 11 minutes of real time with Aaron Rodgers. So I'd like to see a season.
Well, I think you'll get more than that this year. The problem is I'm not sure you're going to get any more than like 7-10, 8-9. Rodgers has a bum knee that compromises him as a player, and you're probably right in exactly the same spot you were prior to the trade.
You know what'll piss me off more than anything? If he goes down again because of a freaking injury related to the shitty turf at MetLife Stadium. That'll piss me off more than anything. And like, they do something about that. Like, every player in the league, when they come through, they're like, oh, the surface here is one of the worst in the league. Cost your starting quarterback, future Hall of Fame quarterback, his Achilles last year. Plenty of other injuries it's caused over. Like, can we do something about that, please?